Now let's get back to business. What is it in our government, the government of the United States of America, that makes them hate Muammar Gaddafi so much that on 2 occasions they have organized the most expensive assassination attempts in the history of the world? I want you to think now. Who is Muammar Gaddafi that under the administration of President Ronald Reagan, on the pretext that Libyans bombed a German discotheque and 2 Americans lost their lives, that he, Reagan, would order planes out of England to fly, and the French government would not let those planes fly over France, so they had to go down the Atlantic Ocean into the Mediterranean, be refueled, then bomb Benghazi, Tripoli, and other places in Libya to kill brother leader Muammar Gaddafi, and they failed. That's one attempt. Now, the second attempt, very expensive, very expensive. They used the United Nations. And this is why we really have to consider whether Africa should stay in it, or whether serious governments that seek justice and peace should stay in the United Nations. Now, America has tremendous influence in the Security Council. And so a resolution was passed that legitimized a no-fly zone over Libya. But they didn't just want a no-fly zone. They wanted to kill brother leader Muammar Gaddafi. So they bombed where he lived, where they thought he might be. And they kept bombing and they kept bombing. Then they would see Muammar Gaddafi in the streets of Tripoli to the cheers of his people. They had failed, and they've spent millions and millions and millions of dollars. Tell me something, brothers and sisters. Why would America want him dead so bad that they would use the power of their military and the military of NATO and destroy this man's country? Now listen, bombing his infrastructure, destroying his communications, destroying the man-made river project, doing everything they can to destroy the infrastructure of the country, then robbed him, took advantage of their power to strip 30 billion and offer it to an illegitimate government. Took advantage of their power to strip 30 billion and offer it to an illegitimate government that they set up. A puppet regime to do the bidding of America and the West and not true service to the Libyan people. What is it about Gaddafi that they are conspiring to do this to him? He's a very unusual brother. Let me tell you why I believe they want him dead. But we don't need to just look over there, because you'll soon see if they can't shut my mouth, which they can't, and if it appears that you are awakening from the sound of the truth from our lips, then they will want to silence us as well. But I say to the government of the United States, as the prophets of old said to the wicked of their day, come against me with all you got. I want you to hear what I'm saying. Come against me, justice, freedom, and equality. Otherwise, you should sit down and get out of the way. For those of us who know God will leave this struggle, and we are the overcomers. Believe it or let it alone. What has Gaddafi done? Did you know that in March of this year, the UN was getting ready to give Gaddafi and the Libyan Jamahiriya a Humanitarian Award? A UN report said, listen to this, that the Gaddafi regime protected, quote, not only political rights, but also economic, social, and cultural rights. And they praised it for the nation's treatment of religious minorities and the human rights training received by security forces. It was approved and to be voted on later in the month of March.
Argues,
but the attack started
forcefully
in February. And what was the propaganda? That Gaddafi threatened to kill his own people. Let's stop for a minute. Now, you know, you should always be suspicious when America, England, France, Italy, Germany, Europe are concerned for the lives of black people. You really should stop a moment and look at the humanitarian suffering inside America and say, if the suffering in America hasn't touched the hearts of Congress and the U.S. government to make laws to protect the weak and the poor, black, brown, and white of this nation, how in the world could you believe that they are so concerned about the humanitarian needs of the Libyan people? Now look, when they didn't kill him at first,